Hi, welcome. It's another Friday, and it is time for the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Kwa. Many thanks for watching. And the preview show has a new friend. The preview show is proudly brought to you by Mozart Bet Ghana. Mozart Bet Ghana. Visit their website, mozartbetghana.com.gh, and get the best odds, the best payouts, and everything related if you are a punter or you love to place a bet or two. Mozart Bet giving you the best in terms of betting and all of that. So they are the new friends of the Premier League preview show. Wonderful time. So we are not alone. It's lovely. You can send us your thoughts and comments though on the number 0550-585832, and we'll go through as many of them as possible. You are watching us on DSTV channel 363 and GoTV channel 182. Wonderful. If you're watching us free to air as well, that's great. This is your show. We'll be running between now and the next hour or so. We'll be back after this very short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. This is the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. Welcome back. This is the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. Let me introduce my guests. I'll be getting the other one in a bit. But Sydney Antonio says, Sydney, how are you doing?
I'm good, Nathan.
Great.
How are you?
All right, I'm all right. Let's get into our games. Let's have a look at the fixtures for the coming weekend. There you have it. We start off with a Friday night tie between Southampton and Norwich City. Leeds United face Spurs. Brentford face Newcastle. Brighton take on Aston Villa. Palace face Burnley. Man United take on Watford. That's our Old Trafford. Everton face Man City in a very interesting game in Liverpool. And then you've got West Ham and Wolves on Sunday. Arsenal and Liverpool, that's been postponed. Chelsea-Leicester has been postponed as well. This weekend also happens to be the final of the League Cup between Chelsea and Liverpool. Exciting game, tasty encounter there. I'm sure that will feature prominently on Scorecard on Sunday and on the Premier League live broadcast on radio as well. All right, let's get into our games. Let's start off with Leeds taking on Tottenham Hotspur. Leeds versus Tottenham Hotspur. Two interesting sides who are going through all kinds of experiences in the Premier League. Leeds are 15th as we speak. They've won 5, drawn 6, lost 12. The most recent loss was a 6-0 drubbing at Anfield at the hands of Liverpool. They've conceded 56 goals. 56. And they've scored 29. Almost twice the number of goals there. And then you've got Spurs, who are 8th on the league. They've won 12, drawn 3, lost 9, 31 goals scored, 32 against, almost doing a 1-for-1 in terms of their numbers on the Premier League table, in terms of the goals scored and goals conceded. So, all right, that's the picture of the two teams, or what we call the tail of the tape, before the two teams meet there. Sydney, your thoughts on this? Very interesting times for the two teams. Leeds are still shipping goals in by the dozens, while Spurs don't seem to find consistency. 1 week they are winning in injury time at the Etihad. The next day they are losing at Turf Moor by a goal to nil. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, as you have said, very interesting, and it will be quite interesting to see how they will line up, because you can see both teams, they are different when it comes to their position on the table, but they have similar troubles when it comes to their recent form and how they have been performing so far. Leeds, well, we all know how Leeds play. There's no need of talking about it again, because they won't change the way they play. They're going to play the way they play. They're going to be expansive. They're going to be open. But they'll be looking to get more from their players. They'll be looking to welcome some players who have gone on injury, which has hampered them a bit. The likes of what's his name? Calvin Phillips, who's been out for a while, who's been very instrumental in the midfield. Although Adam Forshaw has come in and he has kind of solidified that position, but you can see the position where they need more bodies. And if you look at Tottenham, I don't know how to describe them, because when Conte came with so much fanfare, he came with so much belief, so much promise for the Spurs fans. He has done a good job, but recent results haven't gone in his favor. And we could see from his last press conference, almost as if he was lobbying to be sacked. Well, people have different opinions on what was happening. Some people say he was kind of throwing the gauntlet to those higher above to make certain changes, and some also saying he was also throwing the challenge to the players to improve their performances. But well, if you read his words plainly, it's as if he was lobbying for his position to come under pressure or come under contention, which was quite strange over there. But it will be interesting to see how they line up, because Tottenham needs to win this game. As you saw last night, Arsenal got the win. they have come a point behind United in the top 4 race. West Ham will be playing. They have the chance to stretch the lead above Spurs. So, and Wolves are also going strong. So this is a game Tottenham really need to win if they are serious on getting top 4. Bear in mind how poorly Leeds have been playing. This is a must-win fixture for Spurs.
Daniel Cranton has joined us. How are you doing?
Very good, Nathan.
I'm sure Spurs would love this game. A welcome break. They could potentially win it. We've seen Leeds' numbers. They are conceding almost twice the number of goals they've scored. Spurs themselves have been inconsistent. So, easy win for Spurs, or we should expect Leeds to fight hard in this game?
The fact is, it's easier. Leeds are easy to score against. Their defense is not the best in the league, and the numbers tell us the reason why. They are just not that compact at the back, but they have a threat going forward, and that's where Tottenham also scares me a bit, because they are also struggling to keep teams out, and they are conceding from all sorts of scenarios, be it set pieces, open play. When you look at the Tottenham defense, personnel-wise, they look decent on paper, but when you put them together on the pitch, there's just something missing in there. So in as much as on paper, you look at the Tottenham attacking lineup and see this is a game they'll be licking their lips going into. You also look at the back, and you look at this Leeds team, and they can't score goals. You saw what they did against Man United last weekend. Within minutes, they were back in the game 2-2, but then, of course, their defense fumbled again and they went back. But the thing is, does Tottenham have that mental resilience to be able to ride through this period? And that's where you thought a coach like Conte could do their business for them, but it just doesn't look like it. Anybody, any team in this world will be on a high after beating Manchester City away from home. Especially when you are taking on a Burnley team that I think they were bottom of the league going into that game. That is a game that you should not lose. If you can't win it, fine, but don't lose it. The least you should get is a draw. Okay. But they still went to Burnley and went to lose, and the problems are back. And it's a space of days. On Sunday, everything looked like it was going in a good direction for Tottenham after that Man City victory, and all of a sudden they are back into their problems. 4 defeats from their last 5 games. It's just not what you want going into a game against Leeds. And you see, Leeds are a very funny team. If you look at the table and you look at where they are on the table, they are supposed to be playing with a bit more caution, because game after game they seem to be sinking into the relegation fight. But they approach every game the same, and that's what Antonio was saying. They will come at you. They will create opportunities. They would score. And if you look at the way Tottenham are playing and the chances they are creating, you looked at the game against Burnley, the chances they created, and their inability to put the ball in the back of the net, which is very surprising considering the players they have in there. In fact, there was in the last 15 minutes of the game, when Conte brought on Lucas Moura, Kulusevski was playing right wing back, and he bumped forward a lot. So they almost had like a front 4 of guys who know how to score goals. Son, Kane, Moura, and Kulusevski. We were having chances, but still were not able to put the ball in the back of the net. That composure was just lacking. And I feel it's down to the opposition and how their temperament going into the game is. Because if you look at the Man City game, it's a game that on paper everybody expected them to lose. So they approached it with a nothing to lose mentality. Okay. But against Burnley, they seem to be rushing the chances, especially in the second half, rushing the opportunities. And you expect people like Kane and Son to have more composure. And we've seen Tottenham in situations like this before, and you can't necessarily understand what is going on. But this is a game that on paper I really don't know where it is going to go, because both teams have their problems, and I think it will be down to who wants it more on the day.
Okay, interesting. Sydney, just a final thought on this. Daniel mentioned Leeds and the fact that they probably should have been revising the kind of football they are playing, looking at where they are. But with Marcelo Bielsa sticking to this, is there a chance of them surviving, knowing that is this one-way style or this one track type of football they want to play, open, back forth? What can they do to save themselves? Because clearly they don't want to change. So what can Bielsa do to save this team from sinking?
Well, Nathan, I think the way they are going right now, as Daniel has said, they are dropping further and further down. But I don't think that means they can't survive with this brand of football they are playing. We are used to seeing relegation teams battling relegation, playing a more defensive style, trying to short the back first and build from there. a team like Leeds playing the way they are playing in a relegation battle is kind of a novelty for us to see, which is why a lot of onlookers are kind of hesitant about their chances of sustaining their position this season. But I think it's possible, because when they face teams in and around themselves, this style of play does help them a lot of times. Because if you watch, maybe I've seen them in recent weeks against much heralded opposition. We saw them against Liverpool, who have one of the best attacks in the whole of Europe. Man United don't have a very good team, but they have very good individuals who can punish you on any given day. And we saw them against an Everton team who they're playing their first game at home with Frank Lampard. The crowd got behind them and stuff. So
and then they survived against Aston Villa.
Exactly, they played a 3-2 Aston Villa, which was at that point a dangerous place to go, given the form Aston Villa had been in prior to that fixture. So if you look at the way they play against teams who you expect them to get results against, they don't play too badly against those teams. And the way they play is kind of puts those teams on the back foot, which enables them to get more of positive results. But it's about tweaking their approach when it comes to the more established teams, which they won't do anyway. So I think there are worse teams in the league who can end up in the relegation zones other than Leeds. I think Watford is worse. Burnley are doing better, but I still think they are worse. And Norwich, I think Norwich are also worse. So it's about who is worse, not who is better. So I think the worst teams will go and they'll leave Leeds to stay.
We'll see. It's Leeds United versus Tottenham Hotspur. That should be an exciting end-to-end encounter, knowing the context that surrounds the two teams. Let's move it on. Cindy mentioned Watford. Well, they are up next. They are at Old Trafford and they take on Manchester United. United are fourth. They've been getting a few decent results. They drew with Atletico in the Champions League. But in the league, they are fourth. 113, drawn 7, lost 6. 44 scored, 34 conceded. While Watford are 19th, 1-5 drawn 3, lost 17, 25 scored, 47 conceded. The most recent loss came against Palace, against Crystal Palace. They lost by 4-1. Very, very brilliant performance. Wolves Zaha individually scored 2 on the day. Gallagher getting the other, and Mateta, I think, got the other goals. As well, Daniel, it's a tough time for Mr. Roy Hodgson. He probably should have been staying home enjoying retirement. He's come out of retirement and the results just aren't getting any better. And now they go to Old Trafford to face Man United.
Look, this job was always going to be very difficult for him. The Watford team, all around, they just lack quality, especially in the defence. Look, if we are looking at this team and being as candid as possible, the defence is low-level championship. Look, they should be like the bottom half of the championship. Yeah, this defense is just not good enough. And no matter where you stand, if you are looking at this team and comparing with what we have in the Premier League, it's just not up to standard. And you see, defenses, when you look at teams that always survive relegation, is basically down to the defense. It's when you look at the goals conceded amongst the teams that are down there, I think that the teams that concede less goals are the teams that will eventually make it. Because using Sydney's analogy on Leeds outscore a lot of the teams that they face in and around that relegation position. So goal scoring is actually a problem for those guys down there. So that if you're able to sustain and be compact enough and not concede a lot of goals, it usually comes down to those fine margins. And for Watford, I think that has been their downfall. If you look at this Crystal Palace team and you look at the manner in which the game went, it was end-to-end stuff, and it was just down to fine margins again.
Watford took the lead in that.
Watford took the lead. Crystal Palace came back, equalized. And you see, when you look at it, it's like Watford had a good opportunity over here where they should have scored. Then they don't score. Then one defensive mix-up, and then they are down 2-1. Then it happens again 3-1. Then it happens again 4-1. And it's been a reoccurring theme throughout this season where their defense has just not been good enough. I go back to the game against Brentford, where, look, if you just tweaked about two guys, if you brought two decent defenders in that Watford team, they would have survived the game against Brentford. Okay. It was a Troost-Ekong mistake that made it 1-1. And then he caused another penalty, 2-1. And it was literally 2 goals in the last 5 minutes of the game. In added time, that cost them defeat. And you see, those fine margins are things that will take you down. Going forward, they don't really have a problem with Ismail Assar, with Emmanuel Dennis, King. These are guys who can score goals. These are guys who, for mid-table, lower-level teams, are very good and they can score. But if they are scoring 2 goals a game, or 1 and 2, and they are conceding 3 and 4, of course you are going to lose. And I think the problem with Watford is down to their defence. Unfortunately, we've passed the January transfer window and they cannot get in any more quality. That's why I feel amongst all the teams down there, I really think they are prime favourites, of course, along with Norwich. Norwich, I don't consider them part of the Premier League. So of the 19 teams that are in the Premier League, I think Watford are prime favourites to go down for me.
All right. Emmanuel, when we flip the story, there's Man United. A few weeks ago, there were stories of turmoil, chaos, pandemonium in the dressing room. In the last few weeks, they've been eking out a few wins. They won 4-2 against Leeds, drew 1-1 with Atletico Madrid. They beat Brighton 2-0. And it's looked okay. It's not been extravagant. It's not been over the top. But they are getting the points in. Now they have to take on a team that is threatened by relegation. And they are surely going to put up a fight at Old Trafford.
Definitely. And a team that's going to sit back and try and sustain the pressure and try and hit United on the counter. It will be an interesting game to see because I don't think Watford can also afford to lose this game. Best case scenario or worst case scenario, they should be looking for a draw because looking at the way things are going, Burnley are on the up. Newcastle look like they are going to escape. They don't look like they are part of that struggle for the relegation. And as Daniel said, Norwich, I don't think they are also part. So there are teams that are picking up points in and around where they are. And if they don't get their act together and start getting some points, it will look very deadly for them because I had a look at their upcoming fixtures. It's not looking too good. So, and if you look at United are not playing the most fantastic football in the world. The 1-1 against with Atletico Madrid could have well have been a 4-0, could have been a 3-0 because that was how badly United played on the day. And Atletico, although they didn't have much of the ball, they were able to dominate the game even without having possession. And they should have gotten a number of goals before United got the equalizer. If you look at the Leeds match, United should have been up the hills and far away in the first half. In fact, they were 2-0 up. And some way, somehow.
Those are pictures from that game, Leeds versus Man United last weekend.
Yeah, some way, somehow, they allowed Leeds to come back. And if it wasn't for the fact that they were playing Leeds, if it was another team, they could have gone ahead and even beaten United. So United is not looking like a formidable team right now. And Watford do have prowess against United. They did beat United 4-1 earlier in the season. So that result should give them some form of encouragement, some form of, it should ginger them up a bit to look forward to this game because I think United are there for the taking. If Watford are able to, they don't have a good defense, but I don't think you need an excellent defense to hold back United. Because United look all over the place. So I think, they should just have a solid strategy of coming to the game, defending in numbers. They shouldn't really do much when it comes to create. Let's defend the numbers.
But can they? Because clearly we've seen that they do have incapability.
We saw them against Aston Villa. Yeah. Aston Villa, albeit, and they're not going to the best of forms, but they still have a formidable team going forward, especially playing at Villa Park. And Watford did go there. They held them. They made them unable to score, and they got a goal. They could have made it 2 or 3 in that game. That was how good they were on the counter with the likes of Dennis and Ismail Assar, who I believe will terrorize, whether it's Telles, whether it's Shaw, that part. I don't know which I'm going to play, but anyone going to play, Sarr is going to cause a lot of problem for him. And at that side, whether Dalo or Bissaka, I think Dennis can also cause problems over there. So United are there for the taking. It's not. If you look at the Panthers, you probably think it's going to be an open and shut case for United. I don't think that's the case right now. I think Watford can't get a result if only they get their tactics right and set up in the right way.
All right, let's move it on. Let's get to the final game on our menu, and that's happening in Liverpool. Not at Anfield though, but at Goodison Park. Everton take on Manchester City. Frank Lampard faces Pep Guardiola in the battle of the two former midfielders who are now coaches. I remember Pep's first season it was when he lost at Everton.
Yeah,
4-0. I remember that so well. Man City are currently on top. 20 games won, 3 drawn, 3 lost, 63 goals scored, 17 conceded. This team is playing in a different realm. Everton are 16th. They are involved in a relegation scrap. They've won 6, drawn 4, lost 13. 28 goals scored, 40 conceded. Guys, some of these numbers are very scary.
Insane.
Very, very dangerous numbers for teams like Everton. And they are right there in the relegation mix. Daniel, Man City clearly will look for a response. After having lost in injury time to Tottenham Hotspur, they would clearly want a response from this. And this Everton team with these defensive numbers will get Man City very happy.
Yeah,
looking at these stats.
Yeah, it's not just the Tottenham defeat. It's the fact that Liverpool followed it up by beating Leeds, and now
the gap is
the
only 3
title
points.
race is back on track. Just 3 points between the two teams. Last month by this time, we were talking about Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal, Tottenham Hotspur all fighting for top 4, and Man City has run away with the title. But now it's back on track, and for City, now the attention comes back to the Premier League, not just the Champions League. They need to start focusing again and making sure that they keep a consistent run, because if you allow this Liverpool team, they will capitalize. Everton is not an easy place to go to, but Frank Lampard is an easy manager to face. So that is
an easy manager to face.
Oh, come on, everybody beating Frank Lampard. Look, this Everton team has problems, and I think their first problem was going for Frank Lampard. If they surviving the league becomes a bit more complex when you go for a manager like Lampard at this time of the season. Okay. He's going to try and instill a brand of football, and he showed from the sort of signings he made in the January transfer window. When we watched the team under Benitez, now you see, this is where I think thinking has to go into your planning. You don't just hire managers because they look flashy. When you watch that Everton team under Benitez, after all the injuries he suffered up front, Benitez's structure of the team made it difficult for teams to penetrate. So yes, because of the personnel, some of them were young players and things, they will concede goals. But those goals, you could tell that those goals it was basically because of the superior quality of the opposition. But when you look at the individual players he was using to play that system, you could tell that these guys are just not up there. The Everton defense has problems. Keane and Yeremina, even before Benitez came in, everybody knew that partnership is not the best out there. It's not 6th place level finish. Okay. It's not 5th place. It's not 4th place. That's where Everton want to be. So I feel, first of all, the situation that they were in before they sacked, or after they sacked Benitez, I think they needed to bring in somebody who just be able to see them into a mid-table finish. And then at the end of the season, then you can bring Lampard, who will need time to be able to sit and work with this team and instill his brand of football. He came in the first FA Cup game, he won by 4-1. Everybody was screaming. And then he comes back into the Premier League, and we can see them struggling. And you see, it's not like they are even playing well, or they are playing a nice attacking brand of football. They look very confused. And it is a characteristic of a team that is not used to the manager, still trying to learn the ways of a manager. And at this time, it's very scary. And for Everton, look, Lampard is not my favorite coach out there, because I think he thinks he's prime Jose Mourinho and Klopp and Pep and Ferguson all
regenerated
when he's just Frank Lampard. But that's on a personal side. But look, the fact is he's not there yet. He's still learning his ways as a manager. He's done some good work. You can see some good traits in there, but these kinds of things always need time. And I feel this job was just a bit too early for him. If he can survive this season, I think next season Everton will be a team to watch. They will cause a lot of problems for teams, but surviving it will be difficult as it stands, because we've mentioned the teams in the relegation zone. The fact that Newcastle now all of a sudden they are blowing out of the reach of everybody. Burnley have won 2 in a row. You see, we all know Sondage. When he goes on this tangent, he's going to be scraping 1-0, 1-0, goalless draws, and by 5-6 weeks later, he will be safely out of the relegation zone. So teams like Everton and even Aston Villa themselves are getting sucked in, need to be very wary of their position. And for Lampard, I think let's focus on this game. I feel he just needs to go for the basics. Just be very difficult to break down. Pick a cue from what Tottenham did against Manchester City. Defend very well, and you see he has the personnel up top who can finish off chances. But I just don't feel like this Everton team understands him yet, and the marriage is just not working out. So I think it's going to be a quite easy victory for Man City.
I'll get your thoughts in a second, though, but we'll take a quick break. This is still the Premier League preview show on Citi TV, show proudly brought to you by Mozart Bet. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We'll go through messages, and then we take more thoughts from the guys, and then we do some other things on the Premier League preview show. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Premier League preview show is still live on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Carr. Show proudly brought to you by Mozart Bet. We're talking about Everton versus Man City. Daniel Kranti seems to think it will not work for Everton this weekend. Let me take Sydney's thought. Sydney, after the way Man City lost to Spurs, it must have hurt them. And then Liverpool compounded their problems by beating Leeds. Now the difference is only 3 points. Every game between now and the end of the season, including the second meeting with Liverpool, will be a cup final.
I just don't know how Man City have found themselves in this situation because they look like it was theirs to lose. They were stretching. I think at the point it was about 12, 13 points. And they look like they were just clearly walking towards the title. And somehow they have released their foot off the accelerator. They got a draw against Southampton. Yeah. They lost to Spurs. And it just takes two bad results to just change everything. Looking at the caliber of the Liverpool team that are pursuing them. The Liverpool team who are energized, the Liverpool team who are hungry. They want to break records. And you can see they are taking after the personality of their manager. Very emotional, very forward thinking. So, they caused this problem themselves because it was theirs to lose, and they look like their hand is slipping off the title. But this weekend, I don't think Everton stand a chance anywhere because Man City will be very, very hurt. The manner in which they lost the last game, and even not the manner, even the way they played, because I don't think they played the best football.
Okay.
Although the typical Man City, their combinations, their passes and stuff, but the Man City, we know if they are playing on top of their game, the way they stretch the team, the way they penetrate, they're not doing that enough. I think a lot of the game was being played in front of Tottenham, and although Lloris did have a few saves to make, he could have been put under more pressure. So I think they won't be very happy within themselves. I think Pep Guardiola has built a team of players who are accountable to themselves, who are accountable to their teammates as well. So I think, and a team obviously who is very successful, who are used to success and who are used to winning. So I think they'll be looking to bounce back. They'll be looking to redeem their names after a quite uncharacteristic performance last week. And I don't think, as Daniel has said, Everton are not looking fantastic. I disagree with him in a slight way, looking at the way Everton played against Leeds. Leeds are therefore taken by anybody, but the way in which they played at home, you can see that Lampard has, there's a clear structure to which he wants to play. I just think it's been unfortunate. They've met Southampton away. Southampton are on a very good form right now. They beat Spurs recently. They drew with United. They drew with Citi. So you can see that they're a team who have played a long time under Hasenhuttl. They have an established way of playing, and they are in a very good form right now. And they played also against Newcastle away, and Newcastle have been energized by their signings. The home crowd at St. James baying for blood. So they are very two tough fixtures to play away from home. So granted, they were poor in those games. Their game against Leeds, where they did look promising. It just offers me a ray of hope for them with regards to the relegation race. And if they can look to, or as Daniel has said, be very compact and look to have some of the combination play they did showcase against Leeds, the Van de Beek and Anthony Gordon and Richarlison, and also Iwobi he didn't do too badly that day, and they also brought Andre Gomez, also doing well. So if they can look to harness that combination, and the guys they have brought in for the left back, I think this Mikilenko and they're also looking quite promising as well. So if they can look to harness that combination, harness that partnership, it will stand them in good stead going forward. But I think this week is a bit too soon for them because Man City are on the prowl. I don't think they want to let this thing slip because it's theirs to lose. And I think they will put maybe 3 goals or more behind the Everton nets.
All right, we'll see how it goes. It's Everton facing Man City at Goodison Park. Remember, Liverpool are playing Chelsea in the League Cup final. That's on Sunday. So Liverpool are not in league action this weekend. It could probably give Man City a bit less of a few things to think about, or they won't have Liverpool on that to think about list. They only think about Everton and see what happens when Liverpool play that rescheduled encounter. Let's have a look at the Premier League table. So that's the table there. This is before the weekend's activity, so you can tell who has what in their hands. The teams that have the outstanding games. Chelsea have 1, Arsenal have 2, Spurs have 2 themselves, Leicester have 3. Everton themselves have 3. Burnley also have a lot of games to play, about 3 to play and all of that. So these are some of the teams you need to look out for, especially knowing that rescheduled games are popping up, and you can just try and see how these teams can get some extra points in terms of their Premier League runs there. But the gap between Man City and Liverpool, clearly you can see 63 points to 60. Let me read a few messages. Derek says, Spurs, Man United and Spurs will win this weekend. Liverpool win the Carabao Cup with Salah finding the net. Okay, we'll see. They take on Chelsea in that game. We'll get back to the fixtures a little later, but now let's move on to the other part, or another part of the show. Let's get into the debate. All right, welcome to the debate on the Premier League preview show. Today we are in North London. We're talking about Tottenham Hotspur, and we ask, are Tottenham's problems beyond the manager? Are Tottenham's problems beyond the manager? What is the context? Antonio Conte, after they lost 1-0 to Burnley, was complaining bitterly about the team, the structure, how things are done. He called for an assessment, and he said that he was ready to sit down and have showdown talks with the chairman, Daniel Levy, and to figure out what the way forward was. Let's hear from Antonio Conte. I think that will put things into context, and then we can start our debate. So let's hear from Antonio Conte. He was speaking after Spurs lost 1-0 to Burnley in midweek. All right, Antonio Conte, they're not happy at all. I don't know whether it's the result that upset him or what. I don't know. Daniel, let me start off with you. You've heard him speak. He says that's unacceptable. He apologized to the fans. He says there needs to be an assessment. Are the problems beyond him?
I think so.
Why?
In fact, I'm very sure about that. Remember when they sacked Mourinho?
Yes.
The sacking of Mourinho just opened the lid on the problems at Tottenham Hotspur. To put it simply, they are not serious. The organization is not. They are not serious. You see, to win or to be a winning team, it's beyond tactics and player recruitment and things like that. It has to do with culture. The players have to understand that there's nothing more important than winning. It is win or nothing else. They have to be focused on that. You look at Man City and the way they play, they are never satisfied with. Even sometimes when Man City play a game and they win 1-0, they don't look happy because they know they are at a certain level and they have to instill and look, they have to put their foot down and show everybody that they are at that level game in, week in, week out. So to be able to achieve that level of success, that's where your mindset has to be. And it starts from the owners, it starts from the board. Everybody in the club has to be on the same page.
Okay.
But when you look at Tottenham Hotspur, that is not the case. And I'll go back to that Mourinho sacking incident. In fact, another thing that, just before I go to the Mourinho thing, and thankfully, the All or Nothing documentary was brought out by Amazon Prime. We all saw the inner dealings of Tottenham Hotspur. And you see, some of the conversations that, in fact, most of the conversations that individual players had with Mourinho, it just told us the picture in the Tottenham dressing room. They are very pampered and very entitled. If you remember the conversation Danny Rose had with him, if you remember the conversation Dele Alli had with him, it was like, I have to play because I am Danny Rose. I have to play because I am Dele Alli. And especially Danny Rose's conversation. When Mourinho asked him who he should take out for him to play, and he pointed out, and this person are not even playing well, so why wouldn't you play me anyway? You see, it's not easy. That tells you something very, very significant.
It's no longer there.
No, but you see, it's something that we saw happening in the team. And I can bet you that Rose is not the only person with that mindset.
Okay.
You see, his case wasn't, I am better or I'll work harder to deserve my place. His case is, This person and this person have also shine. So why am I not being given an opportunity? Do you get it? And that is a problem. For a team to sack a manager like Jose Mourinho 6 days before a cup final, basically because the playing body does not like him. That was it. The playing body were complaining.
The players don't like the manager. Take action.
You brought in a manager because you believed in what he's done previously.
Okay.
You believed he could get you somewhere. You were a team that hasn't won a trophy since 2008.
Yes.
You are in a cup final. He has taken you to the cup final. If there's anything that Jose Mourinho can boast of, it's his prowess when it comes to winning competitions, winning trophies. You are 6 days before a cup final, and that is when you decide to give in to the players whining that they don't like a manager. So you sack him with no proper contingency plan. Bring in somebody who is in charge. Was he in charge of the under 23s or something? Bring him in to face Manchester City in the cup final, where you know you are going to lose, because there's no way on there. I've even forgotten the guy's name. Ryan Mason was going to beat Pep Guardiola in the cup final. That shows you the thinking of a club. They are just not serious. And you see, after Conte's first game, he made a serious pronouncement that this Tottenham team has a mentality problem. When he walks into the dressing room and he interacts with the players, and you see, the players are not motivated enough to leave.
Okay.
And that's why you look at somebody like Harry Kane, he did everything to leave the club, because he could just tell that his thinking and his level of ambition does not sit well with the rest of the players. They are satisfied with where they are. They are satisfied with going in today, winning 4-0, going on Twitter, seeing that, oh, I'm trending, I did well, okay, fine, and that is good. Next week, he doesn't do well. He doesn't really care. He looks at the next game. That sort of attitude does not win you trophies. And you see, for Conte to make this pronouncement, we all know Antonio Conte. He's a win or nothing coach. Mm-hmm. And for him to almost give up, what he said was what he said. And we all know Conte. He's as frank as it comes. He was being very honest. And for him to make this pronouncement, he's just basically telling us that it is beyond me. It is beyond Mourinho. It is beyond Pep. It's beyond Klopp. They need to fix the club, the inside of the club. And it starts from the owners. It starts from the board. What haven't they given Conte? Seriously. They got him Bentancur. They bought him Kulusevski. They got rid of the players that he wanted to get rid of. But it's inside the bone marrow of the club. That culture.
Okay, so you think that it's a cultural problem?
It's a cultural problem. You see, we said something about Antonio made a telling statement about Manchester City, the accountability the players have for themselves. After games, Pep doesn't need to. After they lost against Tottenham Hotspur, I can bet you see, the All or Nothing documentary was done on Man City before it was done on Tottenham Hotspur. We saw a game, I think it was the FA Cup game, where they went to Wigan and they lost. The post-match, when they went into the dressing room, it was company who started screaming at them, David Silva and co. And even the players, somebody like Kawalker, who got the red card, he put his hand up and he admitted that he had made a mistake. That is accountability. But for Tottenham, they don't have that. They are just too pampered. And they are not going to win anything if they don't change the inner workings.
Your thoughts on this?
Odin has made a lot of good points with regards to the structure of Tottenham and how they go about their affairs. And be the artist, man, I would concede that there are certain issues with respect to the dressing room and how things go on with the inner workings and stuff. But I don't think Spurs are the only team to suffer from these problems. Mm-hmm. The modern day footballer is pampered. The modern day footballer, he sees himself more than he actually is. And they have a lot of big time Charlies roaming around the Premier League and stuff. So it's not only solely a Spurs problem. I think it's a problem that is also in other Premier League teams. And we're not talking about Spurs as a contender to win the Premier League. If this was a discussion about the suitability of Tottenham to win the trophy when it comes to the Premier League or the FA Cup, I would consider that, yes, they have other mentality monsters in the league who would trump them when it comes to that. But
so do you think that is beyond the manager, or you think that the manager still has?
The manager still has, because we're looking at a Tottenham team that's we're looking at their achievements just to qualify for the top four. Qualify for the top four, although we can see it's a difficult task to get to. It's not as daunting as within the league, where you need a lot of big characters in it. And you looking at the teams they are facing for that top four berth. Look at the likes of Arsenal, Manchester United, Wolves. These are not West Ham. These are not very, very, what you can't say they are monsters when it comes to their mentality. You can't say they are perennial winners. You can't say they are highly motivated dressing rooms. They are dressing rooms with the same kind of problems that beset Tottenham also. So I would say that with respect to doing better and qualifying for the Premier League, for the top 4, the manager has to do better, because he was brought. We saw when he came in, we saw they had an initial lease of life. They got very good results, and we have seen that they can do better than what we saw against Burnley. They are a bit inconsistent, as are Arsenal, as are United, as Wolves are not as inconsistent. But I think Tottenham, when it comes to their playing body, they have better players than Wolves do have, and West Ham are also quite inconsistent. So if you look at the teams they are facing off against, although there are very serious deep-rooted problems within the club, I don't think moving forward and doing better with respect to this season and finishing a better position has to do with those issues. Those issues can come in later, but I think Antonio Conte has to do better, has to do more to get the best out of his players. I mean, you have Harry Kane, you have Heung-min Son, you have Lucas Moura, you asked for Kulusevski, he was bought in for you, Bentancur has been bought in for you, you have Højbjerg, who I think is one of the best defensive midfielders in the league. If you look at his the wing back, the right wing back, Emerson, that is a huge problem for him. But if you take him out, look at the rest of the team. Eric Dyer has been a mainstay in the Premier League for years. Hugo Lloris is the French captain. They brought in Cristiano Romero, who was doing very well in the Serie A. Ben Davies has been doing well in that third man spot in the defense. And if you look at some other guys like Sanchez, these are players who they are good enough. Although you can't say they are world beaters, you can't say they are extremely good. They are good enough to be able to at least maintain or sustain an impressive charge to get your top 4 position. So there are deep problems to Tottenham, no doubt about that. But Conte has to do more to get, as he did with Chelsea, with the likes of David Luiz, putting Victor Moses at the wing back, finding inventive ways of getting the best way out of your players. I think he can look at this, and he himself said after the game with Man City, he said this is one of the best crop of players he has worked with. He did say that himself. Right. So just because they have lost the next game, that doesn't mean you should just forget after waxing lyrical about them and not come to say that no, you can't eat your cake and have it. You have said this, so you should also try and get the best out of them. And I think looking at the players they have, top 4 is a minimum requirement for them. They can get it if he gets his acts in order, and if you realize Antonio Conte, he also look at the teams he has been in. After some time, he just throws his toys out of the pram and starts whining. And you look at what happened at Inter Milan and Chelsea and stuff. Yeah, so he should also look at himself and see how he can get the best out of the players. Okay,
Tottenham Hotspur fans, the debate can continue wherever you are. Do you think the problems are beyond the manager? What can the manager do? Do you think the players are poor? Is it a mindset problem? Does Spurs need a cultural reset? I don't know. You can answer for yourself if you're a Spurs fan or even like an observer of the Premier League. We'll take another quick break. When we come back, a few of your messages on board, and then we get into the part that I like so much, the FPL zone, the learning zone, where you learn to fix your teams and all of that. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is still the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. Let me read a couple of messages. Drew from Adenta says, I think Rangnick should bench Bruno just to give him rest. He's been overplayed. Conting David from East Legon says, I want you to know that Chelsea is not out of the title race. We will shock the world. Interesting. And this one says, I'm wishing Chelsea the very best in their match against Liverpool. A win, I pray, for you and Ashaiman. Okay. All right. Anyway, now that we've gotten the games out of the way, let's get into the learning spot. This is where you pick out your pens and papers and try to fix your teams ahead of another exciting weekend in the Premier League. This is the FPL zone, and it's coming right about now. Welcome to the FPL zone on the Premier League preview show, and the Oracle is back in the hizzy. How are you doing?
Hi, Nathan.
The tips were brilliant, and I was a disobedient child. I should have triple captain Mo Salah.
Nathan.
I should have.
You've missed a great opportunity.
I should have.
You see, the fixture combination of Norwich
And
Leeds. Look,
it won't get any bigger.
It won't get any bigger than that. It's a fantasy manager's dream, and you've missed an opportunity. But don't worry.
But so what's happening this weekend? Now Liverpool are in the cup final.
Yeah, so they are not playing. Chelsea is not playing. Arsenal are not playing.
Okay.
That is it. If you have players from that team, that's a bit of a disadvantage. But the interesting thing is that you can easily do a quick fix. So what I'm advising is that those who have Salah, you can quickly sell him. If you have Salah and Bruno Fernandes, I don't think you should sell Salah, because when I look at the fixtures that this weekend's fixtures, I think the high performance are going to be from the Man United game.
Okay.
I'm tipping Sancho and then Bruno Fernandes, but I think Fernandes should be the captain's choice. He's like the safer option. If you look at Mane and the way they are playing, the fact that McTominay has been ruled out means that the text message you read just before we came on.
Bruno being rested.
Yes, if McTominay was fit,
Bruno
could have been rested and Pogba moved a bit up the field. But since that is the case, it looks like Bruno will play. And this is also a very important game for Man United, considering that Arsenal has won their game in hand. And now the race for the top four has become even more interesting. So you can bet that teams will field their best players throughout. A home game against Watford looks like a game that Man United would dominate. Bruno has a good record against Watford, especially at Old Trafford. That's where he scored his first Man United goal. So I'm tipping him I think you should captain Bruno Fernandes. If you want to, what is sort of a differential and you have him, I think you can go for Elanga. He's a bit cheaper. And then not necessarily captain him, but you can have him in your team as a differential. Another player that I'll tip for this weekend's fixtures is Burnley's Ben Mee.
Okay.
Burnley are very compact, very difficult to score against. They are facing Leicester City at home. Leicester have their own problems. And you see, the way things are going, you don't expect Leicester to be too expansive against Burnley because of the situation in the Leicester City team. Okay. So that obviously gives Burnley more of the advantage. Burnley are not conceding too many goals. And also the threat of Ben Mee going forward in terms of set pieces. Saw him score against Tottenham Hotspur. And that wasn't the only chance he had in the game. He had a couple of set piece opportunities. And also the fact that Leicester also struggled to defend set pieces. So Ben Mee is sort of, he's a player I'm tipping for this particular weekend. But on a whole, the fact that Chelsea is not playing, Arsenal is not playing, Liverpool is not playing, it could leave managers with a bit of a fix. If you haven't used your free hit, I think this is a good opportunity to use it. But if you have Salah and you don't have Bruno Fernandes, I'm advising that take Salah out, bring Bruno just for this game. Then you can quickly switch it for the next game. Right. And if you bring Bruno in, you captain him. Yeah,
just a quick question. With all these games that are not happening this weekend, is there an indication as to when they will happen, or we'll now have to wait and see?
We'll have to wait and see, because for some of the teams who are not playing this weekend, they are also playing the FA Cup. So that will depend on a free week. But what it means is that some of these teams will have a couple more double game weeks as time goes on. It always makes it more interesting for fantasy managers.
All right, the Oracle, thank you very much. And that's our show for today. Earlier, you heard from Sydney Antonio. And many thanks for watching. My name is Nathan Carr. This has been the Premier League Preview Show on Citi TV, proudly brought to you by Mozart Bet. They've got the best odds. Visit their website, mozartbet.com.gh, to see exactly what's happening there. We are back next Friday with more from the Premier League and from the Premier League Preview Show. The games, of course, are live on radio over the weekend, so tune in to 97.3 FM and enjoy the action. We catch you next Friday. Have a good one and take care of yourselves.